Affirmations and scripting, if that was all it took to change our reality, we'd all be millionaires by now. But unfortunately, trying to change our already established identity around money with surface level thoughts and visions, it's like trying to hit a speeding baseball with a feather. It's not going to work. You're going to be standing in the batter's box for a long time. Or worse, you will quit and walk away before any good changes come about. But not you. No. Because in this video, we are going to discuss what most people miss when they are trying to call in wealth and abundance. Your financial reality cannot change until the version of you making the financial decisions does. Hi, my name is Allison, and I am here to help you create the life you desire to experience. And if this video resonates with you, I would greatly appreciate a like or subscribe. If you've ever had a houseplant, you know you have to water the roots, not the leaves. Well, saying affirmations and just focusing on scripting, that's watering the leaves. Most struggling manifestors are out here trying to change their reality through the thinking process without getting to the root, the source, their identity. I know you've been told to just repeat things like, I am wealthy, and that will get the ball rolling. But as Neville Goddard said, to be conscious of being poor while praying for riches is to be rewarded with that which you are conscious of being. Unfortunately, the universe does not speak English, so we don't ever really speak wealth into existence. We become the type of person who attracts it. Our words are simply there for us to get our thinking in tune with the type of energy we want to hold and be a match for. So of course, the million-dollar question literally is, how do you carry the identity of someone who is conscious of radiating wealth without experiencing the conditions that promote it? Well, our reality does not organize itself around the wishes we throw out there. So our work starts at building the identity that allows us to hold the energy no matter the circumstances. So first, we need to discover, is your identity rooted in reality or in a perception you think is fact? Let me ask you something. What is one thing you identify as no matter the conditions? For example, you are a son or a daughter. No matter your relationship with your parents, no matter if they're even still around, you are always a son or a daughter. That part of your identity never changes. This is what I call a core identity. Now the question becomes, what kind of son or daughter do you see yourself as? Some people think they're a good child and they financially support their parents or call them once a week. Some people see themselves as a bad son or daughter. Maybe they've had a falling out or done some things they're not proud of. That is a constructed identity. A constructed identity is shaped by your experiences, your beliefs, your feelings, your perception. It is not based in objective reality. In the same way, gravity or the speed of light is an objective reality. A constructed identity is how you have developed, how you define yourself based on your perception. And the more you reinforce that definition, the more solid and factual it becomes. People who continually struggle with money, feel lack scarcity, believe there's never enough, have often unknowingly constructed an identity that repels wealth. This is where most struggling manifestors go wrong when trying to manifest wealth. They mistake the results of their past financial habits and experiences as a core identity, permanent and unchanging. But let me ask you, were we born bad with money? Is there some universal law that declares just because we've struggled in the past, we always have to struggle? Or have you mistakenly internalized the conditions you've experienced and used them to construct the identity around wealth scarcity? If our identity around money were truly unchangeable, then no one would ever be able to improve their financial life. And we know that's not true. The financial hardships and circumstances were real, but the identity that was born from them was constructed, which means it is changeable. An identity becomes unshakable when one bad circumstance, one bad condition cannot talk you out of who you know yourself to be. So hear me out. I'm a good driver. I'm not trying to brag, but I'm a good driver. I feel really good about my skills. I feel very confident, okay? But there are two parts to this. One, being a driver, someone who drives, is a core identity. I learned how to do it. I'm not going to unlearn it. So I am forever now a driver. Sure, I wasn't born with that ability, but once I gained it, it became part of who I am. It became an objective fact about who I am and what I can do. But my identification as a good driver is a constructed identity that developed over time. And you might be thinking, well, yeah, sure, but you've had a lot of time to practice. And yes, that practice has reinforced this constructed identity. Here's the point of the story. Even when, if sometimes I make a mistake, I make a wrong turn or cut somebody off, that moment doesn't shake my identity. I have built it strongly enough that even when I mess up, I still see myself as a good driver. My husband, on the other hand, can have his opinion, and that also doesn't affect me either, because my mistakes don't get to tell me who I am, because I see the mistake from my established identity, from within it. I don't allow it to create a new identity for me. And that is what we need to establish for you around the concept of wealth abundance. We are constructing an identity that says you are someone who is good with money, someone who respects money, someone who is capable of receiving and managing wealth. And just as practice established my identity as a good driver, every decision you make from within this new identity strengthens it so that no matter what temporary conditions you find yourself in, what your current account balance says, your identity remains unshakable. You sit within this anyways. Because once we construct this new money wealth identity, we hold this energy and then look at these things. And that changes the things we look at. So what turns this wealth version of you from an imaginal act into something that our life actually reflects? Well, a common mistake that struggling manifestors make is believing that if they visualize a wealthier version of themselves, if they script, imagine this identity, persona in perfect detail, that they will become her. But we know it doesn't quite work. You know how many hours I've spent in my life daydreaming about being someone tall and skinny? Yet here I am, still 5'2", and not. Well, it's because imagining a version of ourselves does not automatically make that version your state of being. Identity is not merely a concept you hold in your mind. Identity is an expression of energy. It resonates out from how you perceive events and conditions you're in, of how you react to them, of how you participate in your life. We could spend all day imagining and designing the perfect wealth magnet version of yourself, but if your behavior continues to express fear and avoidance, lack, powerlessness around money, then the identity is not yet being embodied. I would not be authentic if I didn't tell you that this is more about aligning your behavior with the identity you want to hold than it is about crafting the perfect identity vision. So the first way to begin to embody this new wealth identity is to become fully available to the money in your life right now. So many struggling manifestors are trying to call in wealth abundance while behaving in ways that are rooted in avoidance. They say they want wealth, but they don't regularly check their bank account. They don't keep track of the flow of their money. They don't create a budget. Because for many people, paying close attention to money has become associated with not having enough of it. They only start accounting for every dollar when they're trying to make it stretch and make sure everything can get paid, right? So they have unconsciously connected financial awareness with being and experiencing financial lack. And then they avoid managing their money when they're trying to manifest because they don't want to feel like someone who's struggling. And none of those behaviors mean we're undeserving of wealth. So yes, it's okay for us to check our bank account. It is okay and important to track our spending and create a financial plan, to pay attention to where our money is coming in and going out. Because those actions are not inherently rooted in lack or abundance, but the energy you bring to them is. You can look at your finances from the position of someone who is desperately trying to make every penny count, or you can look at them as someone who has respect for their resources and confidently directs attention where it matters. That is how we begin replacing the old constructed identity. We can practice these same type of financial accounting behaviors, but we meet them from wealth consciousness and not fear. Here is something that is very true. All of those multi-million-dollar, high vibe, manifesting coaches, experts, they all have an accountant. They all have budgets. They keep track of the money that comes in and the money that goes out. They do their taxes. They are aware of their financial obligations and the things that need their attention. Being conscious of money is not anti-spiritual or low vibe. It is a demonstration of respect for what we say is important in our life. I sometimes hear those Delulu manifestors say, if I want it, I buy it. I never limit myself. And okay, that's a vibe, but often it's a performance of abundance. Wealth embodiment is usually far more intentional. A conscious directing of your money and resources towards those areas and things in your life that you say you want to experience in ways that reflect our values, not just spending money for the sake of spending money. Wealth embodiment is to say, this is important to me, that I dedicate time and energy and focus towards it. I am willing to embody the energy that it takes to be financially secure. Because money does not flow towards people who ignore it. It flows to those who respect it. And like any constructed identity, your current money identity is not set in stone. It is not an objective fact. We do not become abundant by performing abundance. You become abundant by changing the identity you hold when you make financial decisions. That is embodiment. And if you want to continue to strengthen the identity around the reality you're creating, I have several other good videos on creating and shifting your identity. And I hope that this video was helpful to you. And I look forward to bringing you more. Thank you.